Okay. Are the voice and screen clear? All okay? Tell me. Are the voice and screen clear? All okay? Hmm? Yes, all okay? Good. Let everyone join. We'll wait for everyone. All right. Fine. So we were discussing that at point A, A is which region? A is that region where value of small r is less than r1, means inside the first sphere. Okay. We want to find out electric field at point A. Electric field is a vector. Electric field is produced because of what? Charge systems. Okay. So we have the first charge system as first sphere. We have the second charge system as a second sphere. So these two charge spheres will produce some electric field here, and we have to add those two electric fields vectorially. Now I am expecting reply from everyone, because now you know, because we have solved such similar examples. What will be the electric field because of Q1, which is on the first sphere at point A? Fast, everyone. Huh? Electric field because of Q1 at point A. Perfect. Everyone is giving the answer correct. So हेच त्यांना चेक करायचं आहे की तुम्हाला इनसाइड आउटसाइड लॉजिक कळलेत का? They are what they are doing? They are sometimes keeping some point charge here. Because of that point charge, electric field will be there. But because of this sphere, no, it is an inside point. So because of this spherical charge, there will not be electric field. Because of Q2 again. Sir, Q2 is a uniform charge distributed over the surface of the sphere, and point A is inside the sphere. So again answer 0. Okay. So net electric field at point A will be equal to electric field at point A due to Q1 plus, of course it's a vector, we know, plus electric field at point A due to Q2, but point A is inside Q1 as well as inside Q2. It's a charge sphere. It's a charge sphere. So for a charged spherical system, not for other system, for a uniformly charged spherical system, if the point is inside, and inside there is no charge is only on the surface. In that case only, inside anywhere electric field is 0. So that 0 plus this 0, so it's going to be a null vector. So answer is 0. Fine. So point 1 was very easy. Point number 2, electric field at point B. This was 1. This is point number 2 at point B. Where the point B lies? Point B has smaller value as what? Smaller value more than R1, and less than R2. So this region, more than R1, less than R2. So this region, smaller value is more than R1, but it is less than R2. So in this region, sir, the point B is outside the Q1, and Q1 is a charge sphere. So this can be assumed at the center, and because of that, what will be the electric field? K into Q1 upon R square. Okay. So can I write directly K into Q1? Same we have to write here. Same we have to write here. So I am doing this step. I am doing this step, second step. Instead of A, just write there B. K into this entire Q1 will be assumed at the center. K into Q1 upon R square plus, sir, point B is inside the Q2, and Q2 is distributed uniformly on the sphere, and inside Q2 sphere it must be 0. Yes, that's it. That's the answer. Sir, it's a vector. It's a vector. So let us write the sense of direction as well. Let us call this point as, it's a center, right? So let us call that point as O. Direction will be what? Because of this Q1 is positively charged, direction will be OB. Direction will be OB, or the unit vector in the direction of OB. Okay, sir. Which direction? OB direction, or the unit vector in the direction OB, plus electric field due to the Q2. Sir, because of Q2 there will not be any electric field, just write down there 0. Yes. Next, third point. See how simple these things are now have become. Just understand the underlying concept, you will get it immediately. So at point C, because of Q1, sir, point C is outside Q1. So the formula is, sir, K into Q1 upon R square. What is the direction? Direction will be OC. Direction will be OC. Okay. Direction will be OC plus. Sir, point C is also outside Q2. So Q2 can also be assumed at the center, just like Q1. Q2 can also be assumed at the center. And what is the direction of the electric field? Away from the center means again OC direction. Okay. So plus K, this Q is what? Sir, Q is Q2. K into Q2 upon this R square into, what is the direction? So direction is again OC. Okay, again OC. So electric field due to the Q1 plus vector sum electric field due to Q2, that we have to add. Sir, both of these directions are same. So just add the magnitudes. Okay, let's do that. What will be the final answer? Sir, K upon R square common. Sir, Q1 plus Q2, yes. Sir, same direction OC will remain as it is. Now everyone shall reply me in the chat box up to this, clear and written, so that we can move on to the next question. Write it down, understand it, get it, and then reply clear and written. Everyone. Expecting reply from everyone. Good. Very good. Take your time, understand it, make sure you got it. If any doubt you can ask, we can discuss that. Such questions will definitely be there in the exam, so that they can confuse you inside, outside, but you will not get confused. Okay, you decide it first. Because of Q1, what will be electric field? Because of Q2, what will be electric field? Whether the given point is inside Q1 or outside Q1, according to that, use the formula. Yes, very good. Next, question number 42. Let's see what is there in the question number 42. It's again action reaction question. Question number 39 is repeated there. Okay, question number 39 is simply repeated there. So question number 42 and 39 are same. So actually there will not be any need of solving question number 42. Okay, they have asked us to find out the forces, action reaction pair. Okay, sir, you are assuming charge as positive. Yes, whenever it is not given, I assume it as positive. That's the convention. Okay, that's the convention. These things also you need to learn. Whenever it is not specified and they are asking something, definitely we have to wisely assume the things. Okay, if you assume it as negative, write there that now I am assuming it as negative. Okay, but generally in case of MCQs on the OMR, you cannot write I have assumed it as negative. So by convention, you just take it as positive and find out the answer. Okay, fine, sir, I got it. In the boards you can do that, because there is a person who can read that assumption. In case of OMR, it's a machine. It's simply going to check 1, 2, 3, 4. If you write anything else, it will simply ignore. Next, question number. Okay, question number 43. Let's see. Seems something different. Let's see, different or same. Find the force acting between the two shells of the radius R1 and R2, which have uniformly distributed charges Q1 and Q2 respectively. Okay, till now we have found force between 2 point charges, force between point charge and the spherical object. Two charge systems exert force on each other, that we know. They will either attract all repel each other, that we know. 2-point charges force was given by Coulomb. But now the system is something different. We are not given 2-point charges. We are given two shells of radius R1 and R2, which have uniformly distributed charges Q1 and Q2. Okay. First shell, radius R1, charge Q1. Okay. Second shell, radius R2, charge Q2. Okay. Next. At a distance between, and the distance between their center is smaller. This center and this center, center to center distance is smaller. Okay. Next, what you will do now? Here we have a charge system. Here we have another charge system. This is not a point charge, it's a charge system, charge object. So what can be done? What can be done? Can you predict any way? If it was a point charge, if this was a point charge, I would have found the electric field because of this system at that point, and I would have done F is equal to EQ. But now what to do? You want to put some thought? Think for a while. It is simple, but try to elaborate that in sentence, because that is also necessary. You might get the correct answer, but I want its explanation. And then I will tell you one more interesting thing as well. First of all, you try to put your thought in some combination of word, a sentence. Try to do it. What can we do? What do you think? Any thought? Just write it down in the chat box. I'll give you 10-20 seconds. Diksha is saying sphere as a point charge. Sir, assume sphere as a point charge. One thought. Others? She simply said, sir, assume sphere as a point charge, you will get the answer. Okay, we will get the answer. But will that be true answer? And in which case it will be true? And in which case it will be false? Let's discuss. What Coulomb has said is only applicable for point charges. Basically, Coulomb's law is applicable for point charges, but in some particular cases it will be applicable to extended objects. Extended means what? Collection of points. This is extended objects. There are so many points, and collection of all those points becomes an extended object. This sphere is a collection of point charges, so it's an extended object. This sphere is also the collection of point objects, so it is also the extended objects. Okay, sir. This sphere entirely lies, all the points on this sphere entirely lie outside this charge. Okay, fine. So sir, with that logic, what we should have done is we have to find out electric field due to this sphere. Add this, at all the points on the surface of the sphere, we have to find it out. Okay, that we would have done, but it will take a time equal to infinity because there are infinite point charges. Okay, fine. But in case if this distance is smaller, is comparatively large compared with this R1 and R2, for example, sun and earth. In front of sun, do you know that in front of sun, or even the sun and the earth, the distance is so huge. That this should be the sun, this should be the sun, and this should be the earth. So both are as good as the point charges. So when the distance between these two extended objects is so large, do not consider them as extended objects. Their shape doesn't matter. Take them as point charge. Is this thought clear to all of you? Answer, not a big deal. One step answer. Is the thought clear to all of you? In two extended objects, this hand, this is a charge hand, this is a charge hand, and the distance between them is so large. So now this hand becomes a point charge, this hand becomes a point charge. So shape doesn't matter. If the distance is so high, those are as good as the point charges. Okay, sir, apply the Coulomb's law, get the answer. That's it. Ah, very good. That's it. Write it down. Sir, these are going to repel each other. Fine. Force on this, repulsion. Force on 2 by 1. Force on this, repulsion. Force on 1 by 2. Magnitudes we are writing, directions we know. Force on 2 by 1 or force on 1 by 2 is equal to K into Q upon. No sir, K into Q1 Q2 upon first charge, second charge divided by distance between them, Coulomb's law. That completes the logic. Directions we know, we just wrote the magnitudes. Fine. Next. The next point is the conservative force, a concept of conservative force. Okay. A very important concept. The same concept is in the gravity as well. Gravity is a conservative force. Okay. Let's discuss once again what is the meaning of conservative force. Let us define it, understand it, and solve some examples. Okay. This is the last point. Okay. Conservative force. Write down. How much time we have? 10:40. All right. So write down heading conservative force. Conservative force. Okay. Conservative force. All right. What is conservative force? Write down. If work done by force short form FRC, work done by force or against the force or against the force, work done by force or against the force is path independent. Okay, path independent. Path does not matter, only initial and final position matter. Okay, path independent. Path independent. In is not a separate word, it's a complete word. In, okay, don't write in and dependent, right? Independent, one word. Okay sir, we will write it as one word. Conservative force, if the work done by the force or against the force is path independent, then the force is called as conservative. Then the force is called, sir, conservative. Yes, it is called as conservative. Fine sir. Next, what does this mean, sir? What does this path independent mean? Fine. Now let me ask you one question. We did this in the thermodynamics. We did this in the thermodynamics. That initial state analogy. A process will be called as path dependent. Not a process. A given physical quantity will be called as path independent if it requires the data of only initial and final position. Okay, but it requires the data of path as well. So whether this path has been taken or this path has been taken or this path has been taken, if it requires the data of path as well, then we call it as a path function. We know thermodynamic work done. I'm not saying mechanical work done. I'm not saying mechanical work done. It's a sort of mechanical work done ultimately, because there also we found out force into displacement, but there are other work done as well, which are being done by the work done by the gravitational force, work done by the frictional force, work done by the electrostatic force. All these forces are there. All these forces are capable of doing work. So that work done, which was done in the thermodynamics, that work done was area under this pressure volume graph. Okay, we are learning the analogy. So in that case, that work done was a path function. That work done was a path function because it requires the data of path, because it was finding the area under the curve. Okay, can you recall that? These three different areas, these three are different areas. So what, sir? That means the work is the thermodynamic work done, pressure volume work done, rather we will call it as pressure volume work done by the gas is a path function. Okay, is a path function. All right, fine, forget about that. So there are few things called as path function, there are few things called as state function. For example, internal energy or change in internal energy. Change in internal energy does not require the information of the path, how you moved from initial state to final state. That is not required to find out change in internal energy. It requires only initial state data and the final state data. So that requires only data of initial and the final state, and does not require what was the path in between. Not required to find out internal energy or change in internal energy. So it's a state function. So in this way you can understand path dependency and path independency. Fine, now forget about this. Now let us come back to the let us come back to conservative force concept. Force, let us have one more analogy. This is earth. Sir, you have drawn a straight line and you are saying earth. I know it's a sphere, but I am taking some part of the sphere. It's as good as a straight line. It's a huge sphere, you know. So earth, let me take this as a straight line. Okay, surface of the earth. Fine. Now this object having mass equal to m, because of the earth we have gravitational field, because of the charge we have electric field, because of the mass we have gravitational field. Earth has some mass, it has its own gravitational field, and in that gravitational field we have placed another mass. Okay, so this mass will have some gravitational potential energy because of positions, relative positions. Okay, yes. We will deal with the concept of potential energy in the next chapter. Electric potential energy or electrostatic potential energy, same concept similar to gravitational potential energy. Fine, sir. Now if you move this object from point A to point B, let's say this height is h1, let's say this height is h2, let's say this height is h2. Fine, what is the work done by the gravitational force or against the gravitational force? So very simple, gravitational force is always downwards. We are moving from point A to point B. Now let me draw the same points A and B once again, and let me draw three possible paths. First path, second path, third path. I am reaching the same point. I'm starting at point A, ending at point B. Okay, now if I want to find out the work done by the gravitational force, path data doesn't matter. What I will be doing, work done by the gravitational force is changing gravitational potential energy. Okay, work done by gravitational force, just write this down, is equal to work energy theorem. Here we are not changing any kinetic energy. Here it is also at rest. Here it is ultimately at rest. Okay, fine, sir. Work done by the gravitational force is equal to change in Ke plus change in Pe. But we are not right now dealing with the kinetic energy. We want object to be rest at this point, rest at this point. Okay. So work done by the gravitational force. Okay. Earth is exerting some gravitational force on this small mass m. Fine, is a change in gravitational potential energy. Okay, fine. So what is that? Potential energy at point B minus potential energy at point A. What is the formula? Mg, height of point B from the reference line. Now this is our reference line. What is the height of point B from the reference line? Sir, h2. minus potential energy at point A is mg, height of point A, mg, what is the height of point A from the reference? Sir, it is h1. Sir, small mg common, yes, into bracket h2 minus h1, yes. Now you people tell me, this work done, does that require any data of path? Which path you took to travel from A to B? Reply me in the chat box. Is this work asking you for data of path? Tell me. Yes or no, Y or N. Is this work asking you data of path? Definitely, all of you are giving the correct answer. Everyone shall reply. Everyone? Good. Next. Everyone? Is this work asking us data of path? Huh? Yes or no? Yes or no? I think today the chat box is feeling lonely. Very few, very few chats are there. What has happened? Tell me. काय झाले बाळांनो? काय अडचण आहे? Tell me, we will resolve it. Any problem? I know these things are not difficult. Then I'm expecting some replies. Any problem? Just tell me. I will solve it. Huh? Huh? Why there is so much silence? Again, no one is replying. Okay, everyone, are you present there? का मोबाईल ठेवून निघून गेला तिथनं? Huh? Everyone, are you present there? Now I am serious. Are you present there? Reply me. Reply me, yes. Are you present there? आता जागे झाले सगळे. आता मला कसं बरं वाटलं. मग मला असं वाटलं की मी फक्त असं मोबाईलकडे बघून शिकवायला लागलो. Everyone, are you present there? I want all those replies. Everyone, whoever is present, everyone shall reply me. आपल्या चॅटबॉक्सचा मेसेजचा काउंट काय असतो माहितीये का तुम्हाला? In 40 minutes I receive around 200 to 250 chats. तेवढे मेसेज येतात. Okay, today it's crossing only around 50-55. It is 5 times 6 times smaller than the regular. So I was just concerned. Fine, everything fine. Okay, no problems. No problem. All right. Chalo guys. So sir, this wordle is not asking us any data of path, which path we took for travel A to B. Doesn't matter. In the gravitational field, to find out change in gravitational potential energy, which is nothing but the work done by the gravitational force, that is not asking you the path. It means this work is path dependent. So write down, work done by gravitational force or against gravitational force or against gravitational force is path independent. Okay sir, is path independent. So gravitational force is, so the gravitational force is conservative force. Okay, slowly we will understand the meaning in detail. Fine. So gravitational force is a conservative force. All right. If required, we will rejoin. Okay, today we will rejoin. I want to complete this point. Next. Now, if this is Earth, once again, this is Earth. This is point A. This is point B. This is point C. Let us make a round trip. A to B, then B to C, then C to A. Tell me, what is the work done against or by the gravitational force in the path A to B to C to A? Tell me. Gravitational force is conservative force. Everyone, gravitational force is conservative force. You started at point A, you ended at point A. Initial position, final position, same. H1 is equal to H2. H1 is equal to H2, isn't it? Initial point, final point, same. Path data doesn't matter. Initial point, final point, same. H1 equals to H2. Answer is going to be 0. So write down work done by conservative force in round trip is equal to 0, is equal to 0. Next, now let me take a round trip, and let me do the work against the frictional force. I started at point A, I went to point B, then C, then again let's say D, A to B, B to C, C to D, D to A. Okay, let's say I have a car. Fine. Frictional force is to be considered now. Now you people tell me, work done by or against frictional force. Work done by or against friction in round trip will be equal to what? 0 or non-zero? That's the question. 0 or non-zero, Z or N? 0 or non-zero? That's the question. Perfect. All of you are giving the correct answer. Very good. Perfect. 0 or non-zero? Sir, it is non-zero. Petrol is wasted. Sir, A to C, petrol wasted. Sir, C to A, petrol created. No, it's not like that. A to C, petrol wasted. C to A, petrol wasted. That work is not zero. Fine. Now, let us take this path. Okay. Now what? Sir, still more petrol will be wasted. Okay. So it requires the data of the path as well. So such forces are called as non-conservative because work done by them depends on the data of path. Not only on the initial and the final. It depends on the path. Okay. Fine, sir. Next. So it means that let's say we did the work against the gravitational force while moving in the upward direction. We did the work against the gravitational force. We wasted some energy, but that energy can be gained back when the object is coming down in the gravitational field. Means ultimately there will not be any loss of energy in case of conservative forces. But if there are non-conservative forces, for example frictional forces, viscous forces, once you lose the energy, you cannot get them back. You cannot get that energy back. Is this thought clear to all of you? In case of conservative forces, let's say at point A you have some energy. Now you went to point B, you used some energy, then point C, then point D, and again ultimately point A. Now you will regain all your energies. You will not lose anything in the round trip. But in case of non-conservative forces, in the round trip, you will lose the energy because those forces Do not bother about what was your initial, what was your final position. They depend on the path travel. That's it. If they waste energy, that's it. They will not get that energy back to you. They will not give that energy back to you. Sir, sir, is it that we have to do work always against the frictional force? Yes. Friction sometimes assists motion as well as sometimes opposes motion. Okay, so actually it depends on the situation, and actually it depends on the statement as well. Key, whether you are saying work done by the frictional force or against the frictional force, according to the sign of the work done, positive or negative will change. Okay, for time being we are concerned about magnitudes only. Everyone shall reply me. Work done, okay, or energy ultimately total energy will be conserved. Total energy will be conserved if the forces involved are conservative forces. That energy will not be lost. But if the forces involved in the process or the experiment are non-conservative forces, then the energies will be lost against that non-conservative forces or the frictional forces or the viscous forces. Is this point clear to all of you? Reply me in the chat box. Everyone. बोला बड़ा. When the energy is lost and when it is not lost, when total energy is conserved. Maybe P decrease, K increase, that is okay, but total is conserved. It is with you. It is not lost. It is with the system. System has not lost anything. Very good. Fine, sir. Now your task is to write down the difference between conservating and non-conservative forces table given on the page 23. Today's task. Write down. This you will do. Difference table on page number 23. Okay, you have to add it to the notes. Okay, all those points we have just discussed. Fine. Now there are some examples of work done by the force. Okay, sometimes force will not ask you for the data of the path, and sometimes it will ask you for the data of the path. Means sometimes force depends on the position, final and initial position, and sometimes force depends on each and every position. Each and every position means in between all positions are matter or will matter. Fine, sir. So let us see some types of the examples. Okay, if required we have to rejoin. Okay, do not forget to rejoin. I think we have to rejoin now. We'll just rejoin. Okay, let me end the meeting and we have to rejoin to solve at least one example.